starting clip. That's the intro. Get to know Alessandra.
That's crazy, dude.
This is gonna be in the bloopers.
I want to be
Hello and welcome to another segment of the Beautiful Game Chronicles by Fieldtalk. Again, I'm the host Gilbert Vita with my co-host Michelle and our special guest, none other than Alessandra. I don't want to really talk much about them. I'll let them just introduce themselves. So we'll start with the co-host Michelle and then Ale.
Yep. As most of you maybe know by now, my name is Michelle. I play for the Guatemalan national team, and I've had the pleasure of being part of Field Talk for the last couple of months with Gilbert, and it's been a fun time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're happy to have you.
Of course.
Yeah, so thank you for coming back. Ale?
My name's Alessandra, but you guys can call me Ale, or for the most part, everyone calls me Ale. I played with Chivas and Santos Femenil. I also played with La Selección Mexicana at the age of 14 and 17. And I just want to thank you for having me here today.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out. So again, what we want to talk about especially is the American soccer culture. We know, the World Cup is coming up in 2026. There's a lot of things that happen in the States leading up to the World Cup, right? But before we dive into all those, I'm curious how, your soccer childhood was like.
Yeah. I was born and raised here. I've only gone to Mexico at the time very few times to visit family, not for football or anything. But I grew up playing here. I've played here my entire life, basically. I've been playing since the age of 4, so 20 years of playing. And the difference in the soccer culture here in the United States is that there's much more opportunity than there is in Mexico. But I feel like now, after they started the league, there's been more opportunities in Mexico, but you cannot compare to the U.S. There's just so many opportunities, like academy clubs, so many leagues. And I feel like every year, the United States has even more options, more leagues building up. So I think in the soccer side on that, USA continues to dominate in opportunities, but Mexico's just catching up at the same time. So
Yeah, I mean, part of the reason I also asked that is because I grew up in Kenya, and growing up in Kenya, there's a lot of pickup places, You could just walk around, and people are kicking the ball, you just jump in. And American soccer culture, looking around is a lot of organized pickup games. It's not, you can't just randomly just go in a park and find people playing and just jump in.
Right.
Yeah, I haven't experienced that yet, but it's harder, and I'm curious if it's the same in Mexico where you could randomly just go to a park and, find people playing, or maybe Guatemala, if it's the same thing, where you could just jump in and, in a pickup game, a random pickup game.
Well, in Mexico, yeah, you could randomly go to pickup games, but there's also more pickup games that they play like mini tournaments. There's more, like I said, in Mexico, football is growing and opportunities as well. And you could either go to the park and play a pickup game for free or for fun, or you can go to turf fields that they have, and they have mini tournaments, and both for women and men. So it's growing fast, honestly.
That's amazing. And anything in Guatemala? Similar experience, at least?
Personally, for me, I haven't had a lot of time to spend walking around Guatemala. I know within the city, not so much, especially since there's specific areas that you kind of can't go walking around. So I personally haven't seen too much or had to experience it most of the time, because when we're there for the national team, for us, it's not a vacation. We're there for business. So we don't really have the luxury of walking around and finding pickup games, and I'm sure our coaches wouldn't appreciate us going into a pickup game.
Yeah.
But I have had the experience traveling all over, Europe and Mexico for vacations, that I was able to have those opportunities where most of the time I just bring a ball with me, and I want to say 99% of the time I could probably get people to come play, or I'd find a small little random field and then kids would come or adults would come. Yeah, so that's been a pretty cool experience. For me personally, I think one of the coolest ones is, in Brazil, like playing beach soccer. We went out and you have goals everywhere throughout all over there. beaches, and we had a ball, and all of a sudden you just see the locals like, hey, can we come in? So it's like a 3v3, 4v4, 6v6. And I want to say, for me, I have a very competitive family. I have a twin sister, and my brother also plays soccer. So us three, I want to say, if we're all together, we can pretty much dominate most people we play against, especially for fun.
Yeah.
But Brazil definitely gave us the hardest time, and they were throwing chilenas and doing I was like, oh my, we're way out of our league right here. But it was fun because that's where we brought in, that being from America, that American athleticism, and that's what kind of kept us in. We didn't have the flair, but we had we got grit. We're gonna go win this game. So those are kind of my experiences with it.
Yeah, I mean it's also like, adding to that, like, looking at the whole world, globally, soccer is different for each and every country, and culturally, like you say, in Brazil, you guys experience people coming to you like playing at a different level. Same as in Kenya, different places, different levels, open-mindedness. The ball attracts a lot of people. They just want to kick the ball and have fun and enjoy themselves. I'm curious, you growing up, was it more like a showboating experience when you play against other people? Was it more like, I just want to go kick the ball and have fun? What was it like for you?
Well, growing up, I almost never had the chance or opportunity to play for fun. So my for fun was actually my fitness, my extra touches, playing with and against boys. That was my for fun. But in reality, it was just training. It was my training, and it was my preparation for who knows what, because my dad and I never planned on going pro, or we never talked about it. But he's always told me, if you're gonna do something, do it right. So I don't want to say never, but I have to. He never allowed me to have fun, which is fine, because thanks to him, I'm where I'm at today. But the few times that I was able to sneak in some fun was middle school. Was middle school and high school. That was my only fun time with my guy friends to this day. And now I have more fun with my friends than what I used to have, which is weird because I'm 24 now, and they don't really have that much fun, people would say. But now I have way more fun than what I used to.
Yeah, it's more like you independently getting your freedom into doing whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
I'm curious, obviously you went to Mexico and, got to play. Your experiences in Mexico, did you have the similar opportunities to, like, leave the club at one point, just go hang out, go play ball all over the place, or how was it like?
For the most part, you're not allowed to an extent because of injuries. You can get injured. But the most we did would be go to the park or the field and juggle, get touches in.
Like you could train, you could train on your own.
Yeah, you could train on your own.
Like based on Michelle's experience, she went to Brazil, and then at some point, just the ball attracted a lot more people to come.
Yeah, like that we could do, but when it comes to pickup games or actually playing, no, just pure fun, like within each other.
You can't invite people, or sorry, you can't just jump in and pick up game and
No.
get to play.
Yeah, definitely not. They're like, watch her break her leg, and you're like, what did you do?
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah, and pay to play is an American, system, where you just, even a pickup game, you gotta pay to be able to play. What are your thoughts on things like that? Do you feel like it's helping grow the sport? Do you feel like it's affecting the sport more here in America? Or?
I mean, I think it's helping grow the sport, but at the same time, America always finds ways to make more money. So I think it's both. But for the most part, I think in the past 2 years, football has grown so much here. It's actually insane to me. Like, honestly, it's grown so much. There's so many trainers out there, personal trainers there's just so many. There's a new one every day that I find out about. And there's just so many kids, both boys and girls, that are now talking about the dream of going pro, and they work towards that. So that's what's also, I think that's sick. I just think overall everything is helping with the sport, like its growth.
Yeah, I feel like Americans are more ambitious. They see something, and if it's interesting, they want to, commercialize it, obviously, and at the same time trying to grow, and trying to outrun it, be better at it. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
But I feel like with Latinos, like including Guatemalans and Mexicans, I feel like it's the same way. Like we're very competitive and hardworking. Maybe for the most part here, the Americans find it more on the economical side, but we see it more in I see it more in hardworking. Like we're competitive in the sense that we want to be number one, even if it's a pain in our butt. We want to be number one in everything.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think like the biggest change for me is like the generational change of how soccer is developed in the U.S. And I'm just gonna even compare it between you and I. I'm a little bit older than you, so I think as a kid growing up, like I didn't know what the development academy was. Like I grew up in a small town, and I was like, what? People actually train for this? That's a thing? I was like, why didn't my mom tell me about this? But it was such a thing because it was like not a career. Like, and I'm a few months older than you. I'm a few years older than you. And that was, even for me growing up, it was like, again, my parents being immigrants in the U.S. were like, this is not a career. Like, that is not an option. And it's crazy now. Granted, the women's game still doesn't make as much money, and it's getting there because we're, getting more funding and generating more revenue, which leads into getting paid more. The audience is growing. But even for me growing up, like playing professional soccer was like, people don't do that. Like that's weird. And now, like you said, like you hear kids being like, oh, I'm part of XX Academy. Like, what? We have academies for all of these clubs now? Or like you can go, like the Barcelona Academy, mostly for boys, it's like, oh, now we're developing women's academies or girls' academies. And I think that's where a huge shift has come. I'm not so big on the pay to play just because, that comes with having money. Like what happens to the kids that don't have money and get skipped over? Like that's my issue with the pay to play situation. But I do think, like you said, there is so much more opportunity by just being here that you can play somewhere and get seen. And that's the biggest thing is me growing up is I had no one seeing me. There was no TikTok. There was no Instagram. There was barely YouTube. Like you had one computer connected to dial-up and God forbid you're on it and your mom got mad because you can't pick up the phone. But like those are like the shifts that's crazy to see now. It's like this kid can be famous and seen by Club America because they saw their TikTok. Like that's wild to me. I cannot imagine being 10 years old and being like, oh yeah, I have endorsement sponsors and making $1 million. Like what? Yeah, I was like, I got a free soda today. That was a sick deal.
No, whenever I get a free coffee,
exactly. You recognize me? Like there's like the other day we went to where did we go to? An LFC game. And a random fan stopped me and Maf and was like, oh my gosh, you guys played for the Guatemalan national team. Can we take a photo? And I was like, oh, you know who I am? Like, that's wild. I can imagine being, a 10-year-old and I'm like, yeah, that's normal. I got 100 million views last week. Like, okay.
Technology has advanced and made things a lot, available, accessible for everyone. Yeah. That kind of helps, like if you can be seen juggling the ball or, doing cool tricks and being confident in your pickup game or in your league games, kind of helps you in a way. And with the women's soccer, compare the U.S. and Mexico, you did play there a lot. But when you see how the American soccer is grown and the women plays, what are your thoughts? Like, how do you think it's what has helped you grow? What do you think it's going maybe 5-10 years?
I feel, well, from what I've seen so far, I'm going to mention that the Liga Femenil MX just started in 2017, I believe. And the NWSL has been going on for how long?
I don't know.
What I'm going to, like, my point is...
Bring us really proud of this video.
Yeah. It's the W League before it folded.
Right.
2012.
Yeah. 2012.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
Well, for the most part, from what I've seen, is that the Liga Femenil MX, as of right now, is much more known and famous than NWSL.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's growing over here, especially after seeing that they added more teams,
Mm-hmm.
and after seeing Angel City, how much attention it draws, especially people from here, California. But I just think overall, in a few years, it'll be the league, at least here, will be known or at least recognized the way Barcelona, Femenil, Arsenal, those teams, the way Chivas, America, Rayadas, because as of right now, I've heard more about Angel City over there in Mexico than any of the other teams. Simply because Angel City is from LA, and LA, 80% are Latinos. So I think eventually, hopefully, NWSL will be one of the most known leagues. It's known because of the talent,
Mm-hmm.
but for the most part, the majority of the players aren't even recognized as much as they should be. And that's what I've seen so far.
Yeah, and considering like, for example, you go to an Angel City game and the fan base, the amount of people that show up, and then you go to a Chivas game in Mexico, like the turnout, like how do you feel like that compares? You feel like the American teams get a lot more viewership at the stadium, or do you feel like the games in Chivas or in Mexico they get a lot more?
As of right now, I've witnessed and seen and experienced that the Mexican teams have have a bigger audience than the teams out here. That's 100% sure. Sometimes even sold out stadiums for like the final or semifinals.
Mm-hmm.
I have yet to see that over here.
Do you think that piggybacks off like for Chivas, Club America, and all these other teams because they have such a strong following in their men's side? Like,
Yeah.
I think because the men's side has been here for so long, like that's where Angel City's kind of new, and I think they did a good job targeting like building a culture. And like they have like Salvadorian night, a Mexican night. They have whatever. They do like a lot of community engagement, but where the Mexican League has been around for so long, like they have their fan base. Like you walk down the street and you see people wearing their Chivas gear. Like since you go to most soccer stores or any sort of swap meet, and you're gonna see jerseys. Yeah, because they love it. So do you think that has like an influence on the women's side? Because it's like, well, like we know the men's side, so we're gonna carry it on to the women's side.
Most definitely, I think that has a lot to do because the other day my dad and I were talking about if MLS created women's teams for Galaxy, for those teams, it'd be something else, honestly. But I think it has a lot to do with that.
Yeah, it feels like it. Like you see the teams like Chelsea have the Chelsea women's. Like Chivas have the Chivas women, and whatever the male side is getting, all the fans, and it kind of like, oh, we have a women's team too. Come support.
Yeah.
It helps it grow.
Because there's a few second division teams in Europe, men's second division teams that have their women's. So it's insane that here in the United States, where the majority of talent, like the majority of Americans, go pro, in the women's side at least. It's insane how they don't collaborate, they don't combine that, because it would also create a lot of revenue.
Yeah, it's. I mean, talking about how all those things intertwine and help each other, it would be amazing to see that the men's side too, like in the U.S. Men's team, stepping up because the women's team are doing a great job. They have a really good system. America is really big. I wonder what is making them not have like really, really strong teams. Like what, 30, 50 something states, right? I don't know. But it's a lot of states to not come up with 11 players that can compete on the highest level. Anyways, that's not the main problem. Yeah, but anyways, sticking to the American soccer culture, like I feel like it's obviously growing. There's a lot of influence, bringing people like Messi over here, people like Zlatan, playing in the MLS. At some point, it's kind of like helping it grow. Do you think, or do you, by any chance, any of you know if that's the same system Mexican teams used, like teams like Chivas, teams like Pachuca? Is that the same system they did?
I
Throwing it out.
chime in a little bit. I mean, I think that they are starting to do that because Sergio Ramos was signed with Monterrey, and that's a big deal. That's insane.
And James Rodriguez,
I like James Rodriguez. He's an amazing player. He did good for Colombia. I went 20. What World Cup was that? It was really, really good. Real Madrid took it right away. Yeah, he did amazing.
I mean, that man plays on a whole nother level when he puts that national team jersey on. Like,
Mhm.
he's just built different when he has that jersey on, and I love to see it.
He's an amazing player. Who are your influences? I'm talking about like these players.
My influences growing up were and are Rafa Marquez, Sergio Ramos, Puyol,
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Paolo Maldini.
Uh-huh.
And then as I started getting older, it also switched to Van Dyke,
Mm-hmm.
Rebecca Bernal, who was at Rayadas and is now in, I think, Washington Spirit, and Mapi Leon from Barcelona, and Leah Williamson from Arsenal.
I think the moment you mentioned Marcus, was it what was your first one?
Rafa Marquez.
Rafa Marquez, yes. I think that's what yours too, no? When we
I'm a Marcelo.
Marcelo?
Yeah, but
Oh, okay.
that guy, because I think he just was like revolutionary for the fullback position.
Yeah.
Like, you've never seen a player with the type of technical skill that man had at that time. So that was like, for me, like a big highlight. Like, oh my gosh, like you need to be good in any position. And this Brazilian man was making grown men look like children out there. Like, I thought that was like the coolest thing. I still watch his highlights.
It was a dynamic player. It's unfortunate that he didn't continue.
Yeah.
Or MLS didn't grab him. He would be a good player to tax.
Don't worry, his son's coming. Yeah, his son's coming. Yeah.
Like Ronaldo's son. You're a Ronaldo fan, Messi fan?
I am a Ronaldo fan because of his work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and his mentality. 100%.
But a Barcelona fan, though.
But a Barca fan.
Barca.
Barca die-hard fan.
What about Barca do you like?
I started watching them when my dad showed me some clips with Rafa Marquez. And ever since then, he showed me some clips with Ronaldinho, Puyol, and then Messi. So that, and the way they touch the ball, the way they play. Oh my God, it's insane. With Xavi, Iniesta, and other Xavi, they were insane. So I just love the way they play.
That's amazing. I agree too. Like, I think people fall in love watching other people play or enjoying how other people play. I like Ronaldinho because of how he played. He's playing, enjoying the game, just smiling at it. It gets fouled, nothing. It's all cool. It's smiling. So yeah, he's one of my favorite players. Do you want to chime in on that, or you want to add something?
No, I kind of agree. Like, I think that era of Barcelona, it's hard to not be a fan. Like, I want to almost compare it to like where Barcelona is headed to now. Like, it's almost hard to not want to root for them. Like, all the young talent they're pulling in, what they're developing in their academies, like, it's generationally special.
And right now, the team, I think out of the 11 starters, about 7 or 8 of them are under 21.
Yeah,
it's insane.
They're kids. They're literally kids.
Yeah, it's a big future. It looks good. Barcelona looks good for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's a good system they have in those leagues, and I wish MLS does the same thing. Like how there's club loyalty. You have a player that stays in a club for a very long time. MLS, for some reason, they have a salary cap that doesn't allow players to stay in a given team after they win a championship. So they have to end up selling some of their players, and it's unfortunate. But if they had that longevity, you're having a player for a very long time, builds like a good relationship with the team. I think that would help, in my personal opinion. Talking about things that would help, being a woman in this game, what are some of the challenges that you experienced as a pro, as a person, just in general?
So far, the mental side. And I believe that we should start earning more money. That 100%. That's the only struggle that you hear about out there. So
The struggle is real.
that's the biggest struggle, and the mental side. That's it.
So the mental side, like like the name suggests, it's our Fieldtalk. Is it more so on the game? You get some people that are really rough and brutal talk. Give you like a smart talk in the field. Have you ever experienced that?
Yeah, but that doesn't faze me at all. I honestly have never, excuse my language, but shit talked anyone.
Yeah.
Never.
You've never talked. Have they ever talked to you though?
But I just laugh.
Yeah.
I laugh. I literally act like they don't exist because they're only shit talking because I'm doing my job. So why do I have to talk back? You know?
Mm-hmm. As a pro player, like, are those some of the things that you get to be like, told, before the game, like, hey, listen, this team is sometimes going to be like this, or this play is like this, or prepare yourself mentally, or how is it?
Prepare yourself mentally? No, they don't tell us. They don't get personal like that with us.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least in my experience with both teams, Chivas and Santos, they didn't get that personal. It was just, sometimes it was, you guys know who you're going against, and you guys know what to do. Sometimes it was so-and-so and so-and-so, or these numbers, once you touch them or you hit them, they'll start complaining, they get mad, they lose the ball, like that type of stuff, which always helped because it actually would happen. So.
Because, I mean, soccer is a mental game, too, like,
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like any sport is 80% mentality and the rest is physical.
True, yeah. And the fans can get into your head.
No, but to some players, yeah.
Not to you.
No.
Yeah.
It's because no.
Michelle, you?
Probably the same thing. I think on the side of kind of the coach's feedback, it's very similar. Like, watch this player. If like throwing one hard tackle, and then they're going to start complaining, and then it's that game. That way, it's a mental game because when you, as a defender, mentally get into a forward's head, they're done. You can lock them out of the game even before you even touch them. I wouldn't say I trash talk, but I'll definitely throw a little chirp in. I'll be like, let her shoot. She's going to miss. And then they miss. And then you're like, I told you. And then it gets in her head. Then she's like, oh, now I have to pass. And now her pass is bad. So like, those are, I guess, little things that I tend to do on the field. As far as like fans, I want to say usually at games, like, I don't even hear them, to be honest. Like, they're not directly targeting me, so it's not so big of a deal. But kind of going back towards like mentality for her, I think maybe it's like, what is it like the mental struggle, because like you're in Mexico by yourself, like you're in a country, your family's gone, your friends are gone, you move to a whole nother place. Like, that's where I think the mental struggle kicks in, because it's like when you're struggling, sometimes you just want the hug from your dad, or like just for not even, we talked about like words of affirmations from our parents and we don't get them, and how big it feels when your dad's just like, dude, I'm proud of you. You're like, oh my gosh, like, that just kills you.
Yeah.
I think that's
the mental side.
The mental side that becomes super difficult. And like, what is your experience, especially been in Mexico the last couple seasons? Like, what has it been like for you on that aspect?
Well, as an only child, I've always been alone. Like, obviously I have my parents, but I've always dealt with everything on my own. I've always learned on my own. And I've never liked asking for help. So every single problem, it's either you ask your parents or you deal with it on your own. And when I first went to Mexico, when I first signed with Chivas, it was my first contract, first everything. I was expecting things, but at the same time, it was a slap to the face. It was everything was new to me. I mean, first contract, first anything. And yeah, well, I had to be very strong mentally, but it got to a point where I finally told my parents, like, hey, I'm struggling mentally, just like that. And then I joined Santos. I was great. I was in the clouds. And then again, you have that
humbling experience.
Yes,
something humbles you.
Something humbles you every single time. And I had to tell my parents, after 20 years of keeping everything inside, everything I've carried with me, every burden, I guess you would say, I finally told my parents how I felt, that I needed them, and they provided what I asked for right then and there. And one of those things was that my dad told me that he was proud of me, that he rarely told me good things because he always wanted me to have my feet on the ground. He always wanted me humble, and which makes sense. But the moment he told me that he was proud and that he loves watching me play on TV and that he can't believe I'm pro, that's when my whole game changed. Like, I was in my flow state. I've been in my flow state. And every time I hit the field, I'm no longer nervous or anxious. I'm anxious to play. And I used to honestly be so nervous because all I kept thinking was, how am I going to do? What am I going to do if this happens? What am I going to do if they score on me? What if they yell me? What if I cause a goal? It was always like that. Ever since I was 6 years old. I started at 4, but at 6 I started thinking that way.
Pressure.
That's pressure. Like a little girl having that type of pressure at the age of 6 and carrying that until the age of 24. I finally let that go, and for the most part, the majority of us, when I say us, I say Latinos, we know that Latino parents are very hard-headed. They're very strict. It's like, oh, I'm depressed. Depression doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I have anxiety. I don't know. Drink some water.
Yeah.
Take a nap. Thanks to my parents, they heard me out. They heard me. They supported me, and they finally gave me what I've been asking for all these years. And that has impacted my football, my game, and my mentality so much to the point, like I said, I feel like I'm in my flow state every single time. And I've never experienced that. The few times that I've experienced flow state from a young age were random. And now it's like I enter that stage and I know I'm in it and I can control my emotions, I can control everything, and it's amazing, to be honest, because win or lose, as long as I know I'm doing everything I can, everything in my power to give it my all. We lost against America 3-0, but I had an amazing game. Thanks to God. I had an amazing game, and I left satisfied because I knew I looked good. I knew I felt good. I knew I did my job, and I did everything in my power to prevent as many goals as I can. So that's the mental side for me, honestly.
That is well said. I mean, I don't know. Are you gonna say something?
No. I guess my other question would be like, have you found any like, other than your parents now before a game, like mentally, or even not in a game, like when you feel yourself like, oh, I just need to like ground myself. Is there something that you do that like brings you back?
Self-talk. I write a lot. So if I have to write something in my notes, because eventually I'm going to transfer it to a journal, I write, and music. And lastly, I have a rosary. I don't have it with me, but I wear that every single day. And when I start feeling that type of, or any type of anxiety or nervousness, I start praying. Or sometimes not even praying, I start talking to God or to myself. So that's mainly what I do.
That's awesome.
If shit hits the fan, I call my dad. Or my mom.
That's like good.
Well, for the most part, they're always together, so they put me on
It's
speaker.
2-for-1. 2-for-1 special right there.
But that's when it's like rock bottom. Oh my God, I'm freaking out, Dad. Like that.
Yeah.
I'll call them.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's good to have like a backup system, and you know, knowing that at the back of your head kind of, like you said, puts you in that flow state. Amazing. You talked about financial part, so you want to dig a little bit on that one for the women. So how do you feel like it's challenging, and what do you think could be done to kind of like help?
What I think could be done is that the sport continues to grow, but not just in the United States, not just in Mexico, but every 6 months, every league improves every 6 months. Not just because I've heard, oh, the Liga MX every 6 months, so much, it's improved so much. There's so much talent, but same goes for NWSL, same goes for Premier League for the women's side, for Liga F in Spain. Every league has improved so much every 6 months, and every 6 months, everyone's salary does go up. But in my opinion, I feel like we're playing Division I football the same way men are. Why not raise our salaries? We're not asking to get paid the same. Well, I'm not asking to get paid the same way the men do. But raise our salaries because we're in a Division I league. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it's I'm not gonna speak for anybody, but what I'm gonna say is, you know, for what you're doing, for what you're putting, you want something back, and it's only reasonable to ask for it. You know, Michelle, have you experienced that pay increase or pay situation where you feel like the women don't get a fair share of that? You know.
Yeah, I'm gonna call that like a gray area for payment not getting paid. You know, I have played different places where we get paid and sometimes we don't. I think a lot of that determining factor for me, like being the logical kind of realist, even though I am a very optimistic person, is just like there has to be backing for payment to be increased. So like you said, if we're bringing in more revenue, we're selling more jerseys, marketing's doing better. If like 1 + 1 gets 2, it's like, yes, we should get paid more. But if we're not generating the correct revenue to offset those expenses, it's like, how can you give someone more money when there's no money to
Right.
That's where I'm indifferent. I think it does, because then like when the U.S. women's national team was fighting for, I think they were fighting for equal pay, but I'm going to call it like a pay increase. Like it was backed by sold out stadiums, winning the World Cup, winning the Olympics. Like they had the clout
Yeah.
to demand what they were asking for. But if you're, a team and you went 0-14 and you're like, we deserve to be paid more. You won no trophies, you sold no jerseys, had no marketing. It's like hard for me I want the girls to have it. Like obviously as a female player, like I don't want anyone to struggle, but if there's nothing to back it, I have a hard time being like, well, yeah, they deserve to be paid more. It's like, it has to come from somewhere. So it's like, who are you taking the money from?
Yes.
It's like my thing.
I do agree as well. Like, obviously it's, what you give is what you get.
Yeah.
And, with the growth of soccer now, especially the women's sports, women's soccer, it's changed over time. They're filling stadiums now. So that is a good thing. It's a hopeful future for the women.
No, it really is.
Yeah. And you're like living in that generation where things are changing. And you're playing in that generation. And she's talking about when NWSL was just, probably somebody else's, garage project, But now it's super big and, it's growing. For you now, being in this situation where you're in the, change of culture for the women's soccer, how do you feel? Are you proud of being in that moment? Are you happy being in this situation? I mean, 2 generations. You played in that, and you're still playing but you played in that, era that is way different from the era you're playing in right now. How does it feel like for you? And maybe Michelle, you can, amp it up a little bit with your experience.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I still look back and I'm looking at now the younger generations that have even more opportunities than me. So now I'm thinking, damn, Mitch, I wonder how because I was just talking to my dad about this 2 days ago, because I went to Silver Lakes in Norco and shot.
That Silver Lakes complex is crazy.
I know, right?
Oh my goodness.
I took some pictures of, I think the 2015s.
Yeah.
2015, 16s? I did the math and I said, wow.
Young kids.
Wow. And I was looking at some of the girls, and some of the girls it was very obvious who was above, like, talent-wise. And I told my dad, these generations are going to be insane. If I thought my generation was insane, the next ones are even going to be crazier. Talent is insane right now. For an 8-year-old little girl to play the way I saw these girls playing, I told my dad, hopefully I'm done playing football by the time they hit 21, because they look like monsters right now. But I'm grateful for my generation. I'm grateful for everything that's happened so far for me. I'm grateful for the highs and lows. But I just think it's cool how now I'm looking at the younger generations, and I'm the one saying, dang, I wish I had that opportunity at that age. So I don't know how are you see me?
I think it's definitely everyone living in their era is going to be like, wow, that one after me has so much more. I think for me, why I still play and what I think I can give back is kind of like that, hey, like, just because someone doesn't see you doesn't mean people don't see you. And I think for me, like, that's a cool thing. I got called to the national team as an older player. And I think that just speaks testament to, like, just hard work and, like, being dedicated and disciplined to the craft and, like, wanting, like, this is my goal, this is what I want to do, and not letting anybody else tell me otherwise.
Yeah.
And, through my entire life, because I grew up in a small town, didn't play club. I played club for 1 year, and that's because my parents were like, you can only play club if you can drive yourself, and I graduate 17, so only my senior year I could drive. So I think it was just for myself, like, it's a testament of like hard work paying off, and like just because my door didn't open at 14 doesn't mean my door didn't open.
Right.
I think that's a big thing that people, or even the youth now, because we'll talk about like the younger Gen Zers or Gen Alpha, everything is so instant gratification, right? If I want to look something up, if I want to know what year the NWSL started, we can just Google it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're so accustomed to like, I need it now, and if I don't get it, it's like, I'm done. I'm over. This is my career done. It's like, no, like, that just wasn't your moment. And like, it's just like, if this is something you want, like my parents made me, if you want to play soccer and play club, like, you got to get up at 4 a.m. to drive yourself to a game, 3 hours away, 2 hours away. So I think it's like figuring out like what path you want to be on and staying diligent to that said path, if it's something you want to be doing.
Yeah.
And the greatest things in life are hard. They're not easy. And if they were, everyone would do it.
Yeah.
And I think like for me, that's something that stands true to myself. And I keep telling myself, even to this day, every time I step on the field, is like, this is my opportunity. Like, this is my door.
Right.
And, I hope that, maybe there is that 19-year-old that's like, man, I thought I missed my window, and they're just still working at it. Like, you know what? Like, this random girl, Michelle, did it. I can do it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like what I hope to portray to the younger girls or older girls.
Yeah, because going off on that, I've been asked frequently what my journey as to how I got to the league, and they asked me the main question is college. I was committed to a D1, but I didn't go due to personal reasons. But I ended up going to 2 communities and then an NAIA. And to this day, I've told people, in my opinion, you don't have to be D1 to make your play.
I didn't even play D1 soccer. I'm on the national team.
And
I didn't play any college soccer. I played 0 minutes of college soccer.
that's my point.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
You know what? I think we'll end on that.
But that's exactly what you're saying. It's just like, just because it's not checking these exact boxes that everyone says you have to do doesn't mean you're limited. It's like, everyone's path is so unique and different, and we need to accept that, like, sometimes yours, it's not a straight line, and sometimes you gotta like zigzag and loop around and come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the way we mingled with that and came back to, it's very often, it's very easy to just, be seen, get an opportunity out of nowhere, which is a good thing. It kind of motivates a lot of young players in their, whatever you went to know. I'm sure you saw a few kids, and if you were like a scout, you'd be like, oh yeah, I want that kid on my team, right? Like, has your background or your identity ever, given you a bad experience as a soccer player here or maybe in Mexico?
I could admit and say that my bad experience or lesson for me was when I have several now that you. But my main one was arriving to Chivas and never seeing minutes and getting my breakthrough the last 3 games of the season, of the year. That was my breakthrough. That's how Santos saw me. And I guess it's that. Another humble moment would be my college when I went to Cerritos and Rio Hondo. But I honestly don't want to get into detail with that one. But
it's okay. We'll keep it off records.
As a rookie, I guess it was normal. But my entire life, I've been a starter. So it was a reality check for me, too. Like, it was a humbling moment. And that, I would say that's my bad experience. Because in other games with Santos, for example, against America, against Pumas, a couple teams that have a big fan base, they talk a lot to you, but still, that doesn't affect me. So I guess for other players, that does affect them. That would be a bad experience, but overall, just arriving to Chivas and never seeing minutes until literally the last couple games of the year.
Before we wrap up, What are some of the things that you're currently working on for yourself? Maybe for now, for the future.
Soccer-wise?
Yeah. So soccer-wise or just personal, whatever you feel comfortable sharing with our Fieldtalk community.
She's an up-and-coming photographer at Alessandra Photos, or what's your Instagram?
Is it L?
AL3 Photos.
Mm-hmm.
Book me.
Follow.
Yeah.
Subscribe and follow.
I don't overcharge. I'm working on that because I want to. I've always loved photography, videography. I've had that camera or those cameras for about 4 years. But all of a sudden, I don't know why, I said, you know what? I want to make more money. Let me start investing and actually take this serious as a side hustle, which hopefully, God willing, once I go back to Mexico, I'll take that with me and continue to do photography out there. I'm working on that. The other thing I'm working at is my fitness because I was injured and I'm coming back. I've lost a couple pounds. We're still losing. And yeah, that's it. That's all I'm working on.
That's amazing. And then we have a lot of young players. You obviously went to NOCO and watched some of them. What is the one special message you would want to give those girls looking up to you?
My special message would be to be confident, speak up when you want to, and that doesn't necessarily mean go against your coach or your parents, but for the mental side, when you have something in your head, when you're thinking something negative, speak up and let it out. Because that, if you hold on to that as a little kid, you're going to continue to grow throughout the years and carry those burdens with you, or you're going to just want to figure it out on your own, and that will eventually lead to you freezing or fight or flight during the game, which is what you don't want. So I recommend be confident, speak up, and hard work. Hard work all the time. Work, work, work. People say, oh, I don't have time. I don't have time because I'm tired. I got off for work and I'm going to go to sleep in 4 hours. An hour doesn't hurt. It'll work. An hour a day, you'll be ahead of everyone else. So that's my message to everyone.
Thank you. Michelle, like to add anything?
Yeah, I guess my message would be to enjoy the game. Like, have fun with it. Like, it's something I tell myself every time I step onto the field is I've done this so many times. Like, I've put these boots on left or right,
You see a difference
almost
in
always.
My dad told me that.
That's generational. That's generational knowledge right there.
Right now, I'm giving advice as a 24-year-old. You're giving it as experience.
Yeah, it is. Because, it goes by faster than you think. And, like, it's just remember to enjoy the game. And the game is mistakes. Like, mistakes are going to happen. You're never going to have, like, or no one has ever had, like, a perfect game. Maybe Pedri's the closest. But no one's going to have a perfect game. And it's just, like, being okay with being uncomfortable. And it's, like, play the way you want. Be in your flow state. Find whatever that might be and just go passionately in that direction.
Yeah.
Like I said, like, you're going to have good coaches, you're going to have bad coaches, but at the end of the day,
You're the one playing.
you're the one playing, and the field's the same. It's the same lines, same amount of people, same ball. Everyone's playing in the same conditions, whether it's raining, whether it's hot, whether the field sucks. Like, just play your game and enjoy it. Because, before you know it, you're going to be old and not be able to play.
You're going to be talking about the new generation.
Exactly. You're going to be talking about that new generation. You're like, dang, I wish I was still playing. You're still running around. Fortunately for me, I'm not there yet. So, don't talk about that.
Before we finally wrap it up, back to the American question, the American soccer culture. When you hear that alone, what would you sum it up in one word?
Competitive. American soccer, very, very competitive. There's so much talent out here. It's mind-blowing to me, honestly.
Do you want to add something?
Well, that one's a pretty good one. I think I would say, like, for me, like, the first word that pops in is, like, just athleticism. It's just like we're just athletes, and I think a roundabout way of going about that is that is the American culture, but the rest of the world is coming up. That's why I think the women's national team struggles a little bit, because we were just straight athletes. And now, like, you see all the other countries catching up because they're technical, they're more athletic, they're stronger, they're faster. So, like, just being an athlete isn't going to cut it anymore.
Yeah.
So that's what I really enjoy watching, all the smaller countries, and also all the big countries, because it's not just like U.S. is number one anymore, because they were just dominant for so long. The rest of the world is like, you know what, like,
They're catching up now.
you might think you guys are dominant in athletes, but it's like, so are we. Like, we're just as fast, we're just as strong, we're gonna be more technical, and those are exciting to see when, everyone loves the David and Goliath story. It's just, I love seeing the U.S. women's national team win, especially being, from the U.S. and Guatemala, and like it's fun to watch them because they play pretty good football. You can't deny it. They have a handful of stars on their jersey, but it's really neat to see how you're seeing the Colombia, like Spain, England won their first Euro. Like, those are cool things to see. Like, that's the big change you're seeing in women's sports, and it's not like we're athletes, we dominate, that's what we do. It's like, wow, everyone else is catching up. So for me, American culture is just athleticism, and I'm excited to see where our future's going with that.
Yeah, I mean, that is the beauty of it. It's growing, it's getting better. American soccer culture is a story that is getting written. The women are pushing, and now they're getting competition from other teams. You just said it well enough. They used to being athletes, and now there's people coming out with technicality and showing them a lot more skills and competing. So that's amazing. Again, how would people find you if they want to look for your photos again? What was it again? Alessandra?
No, I made that up. It's at.
Wait, are we talking about me or the
Your photography?
Photography, you.
L3 photos.
Okay. You might have to spell photos.
FOTOS. Wait, FOTOS. Yeah, you can find me there.
Again, thank you so much, Alessandra, for coming out and being with us today. We talked about American soccer culture. Thank you for being a great co-host.
Always, anytime.
To our viewers, thank you guys for sticking around, and we'll see you again next time. Peace out. Thank you, guys.
Of course. Thank you.
All right.